Well, welcome to Woodcraft Revival. We talk about all things wood. Today, I want to get ready for doing some bark stripping on 5 poplar logs that I've got ready to mill for our timber frame project. And I want to take this old scraper that my dad gave me and see if I can turn that into a debarker. So we'll step inside the shop here, see if we can put an edge on it, dress this up a little bit, and then see what it'll do on our poplar logs. Come with me. I know my workshop is a sensory overload for some of you people. It's a sensory overload for me too. So let's take a look at the business end of this scraper. It's, like I said, it's a tool that my dad gave me, and we've been using it just to scrape things, scrape things off the concrete. But it's pretty heavy steel. It's an older tool, so I think it's going to work well. It doesn't have much of an edge at all. It's got a little bit of a chunk taken out here where there's just the slightest little bevel. And then, of course, I don't know if you can see this, but this side is longer than this side. So there's a taper there. I don't know if that's intentional or if that's just been wear over the years, but we're not going to try to correct that. In fact, we're going to use that to our advantage as we dig into bark. Hopefully it'll give a leading edge there. But we do want to put an edge, and I want to try to do this like a chisel. So where we have a flat side and then we have our bevel, instead of the way this is cut now, it's kind of like a double bevel, like a knife blade. But we need to get it cleaned up first. I want to get all the dirt off of it and take a wire brush, see what we can do, just get down to bare metal. All right, well, of course, my log pile is on the frozen side of the world. That side's completely clear. This side's still covered. But I got a pretty good edge. I don't know what was going on with my paint. I don't know if it's been in the shop too long, but got a decent edge on it here, and just shot some red paint on it to keep it from rusting up. I have a feeling we're going to knock a lot of that off here as soon as we get started. I'm going to clear some of this snow off. I've got some boards here. We'll just see how this goes. All right, so I've got about just under an hour in this, and the issue, of course, I'm running into, this is poplar, and this is poplar that's been on the ground for a while. And if you guys know anything about poplar, this should really be coming off in big sheets and not require this much work. But the issue is the bark, there's so much moisture in these logs, and these logs are still frozen. Even though we've been in the mid-50s the last 4 days, these logs are still frozen. And they're struggling releasing the bark. But it's still coming off pretty good. I'm going to give you some close-ups here, show you what it looks like. You can see the frost underneath. You can see the frost there. It's actually ice, more so than just frost, that's holding on to that bark. But it's still coming off pretty good. In fact, in the underside of the log, where there wasn't a bunch of snow piled up for a long period of time, the bark is coming off much easier, even though it's still frozen. I may have made my edge on my blade a little too aggressive. Well, I'm not sure. It's digging in pretty good. But this ice is kind of it's not a really good, accurate depiction of what we'd be doing regularly. This winter has definitely been an anomaly. So you may be asking, Troy, what's the point in doing all of this? You've not stripped bark before when you go to mill a log. Why mess with it now? Well, it's really kind of an experiment, I guess. I just wanted to see, there's multiple reasons why these logs have been on the ground too long. I milled them back in the spring, and so that's a problem. So to be a timber frame log, I don't want it to be punky. I don't want it to have a bunch of rot issues. So to keep from having to just throw these logs away, that's coming off. To keep from just having to throw these logs away, I put them up on this rack, and of course stripping the bark off of them now. Now the plan is, if it ever thaws out, we'll be milling these guys and get those cut into timbers for our timber frame project. The key benefit, of course, is to protect the bandsaw blade. If there's no bark, then there's a lot less opportunities for dirt and rocks to be crammed into that where the blade comes through and gets damaged. I skid these logs off the property. I don't pick them up and carry them down. They drag along. So there's opportunities for lots of dirt to be accumulating in the barks, especially in a poplar or any of the larger furrowed barks can really cram in there. Well, sitting down on that log is clearly a mistake. But if I had a debarking tool for the mill, then, as I'm making my pass, then that bark could just be taken off in that one spot, which would be very nice. I don't have that feature. And when I look at it, the grand scheme of things, is this hour's worth of work worth shortening the lifespan of one of my saw blades when I have the ability to sharpen and set here on the property? So it's like, trade-off of time. Do I trade off time sitting in a warm, cozy shop or a cool, cozy shop, depending on the time of the year, running my sharpener, or do I come out here and do a lot of manual labor to strip bark off? So it's kind of the grand experiment here is what makes more sense? Where do I exert labor more and justify work on the front end or work on the back end when it comes to maintenance? Now you can say, well, every time you sharpen a blade, you're shortening the lifespan of that blade because you're taking material off. And that would be fair to say. So if you have to sharpen it less, you get more life out of your blades. But I don't know. But as far as having this tool in the toolkit, it's a no-brainer to have. Of course, it didn't cost me anything other than a little time, but it is proving a purpose. And there may be times that I do need to debark because of whatever reason, down to my last blade or something. The real question would be, how does this work? Or the real test would be, how would this work on a green log that isn't frozen? Green log would make it tougher for the bark to come loose, but it wouldn't be frozen, so it may make it easier. So we're kind of trading one for the other here. And of course, species, tree is going to matter as well. Poplar tends to let go of its bark easier. Beech would be tough. The heavier oaks would be tough if they're green. All right, I think that takes care of the 5 logs we have here. These, of course, the plan is to have these 5 be the main posts for our sawmill timber frame project. So hopefully it won't snow a foot anytime soon. I think actually tomorrow we're supposed to get almost an inch of rain, so a lot of the snow will be gone. And hopefully we'll be able to get firing up the mill here and get some posts made. So if you're wondering about how we're going to do this between the two channels, my plan is to show the timber frame project from a mid view or higher view level on Red Toolhouse. So we won't get into the details of the joinery. We'll kind of show, hey, we're milling, we're making our posts, we're doing some basic joinery and moving on. Here on Woodcraft Revival, we'll kind of get deeper into the details as I learn, because obviously I've never done a timber frame project of this scope. Fooled around with some smaller stuff, but I've never done a timber frame structure. So as I learn, we'll be getting into the details with you guys on this channel, and mistakes are made, all those type of things. Share those. That way, those of y'all that want to learn to do timber frame or hone your skills, maybe you can learn from my mistakes as we go along and do this together. So I encourage you to make sure you've subscribed if you haven't, and we'll be starting this project soon. Well, as I always say, I pray you get some time to spend out in God's beautiful creation, even if it's wet, cold, and muddy. Still spend some time out in it, enjoy what He has given us, and I look forward to seeing y'all next time.